Saludos, saludos, everybody. Comunidad, bella comunidad. It's so great to be here with you again. We are so excited because we have with us today the beautiful, wonderful Nadia Thomas of Plantate Café. Yay! We're so excited. And you are our first interview of 2024.
Oh, it's so
I
exciting.
know, that's
I didn't
even
know
more
that.
exciting. Yeah, no pressure, no pressure.
Lots of pressure.
So we're so excited to have you on, Nadia. And we've been following you for a while and just seeing, your business flourish and through mostly social media, because we know that's the way we connect a lot with our local small businesses too. But I'm so excited to have you here today because we're getting back to the core and the root of Bella and who we are, which is really to elevate the stories of Latina women that are emprendedoras, that are small business owners, that are making it happen amidst what I'm sure is not an easy journey. And so we're so happy and thrilled and honored to be able to hear your story and to inspire and motivate and learn from you and laugh and cry if we have to and whatever else this time together brings us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And so let's get into it. And, the infamous question that is always asked, I think, in interviews is to tell us a little bit about yourself. But we want to hear about your business, but we mostly want to hear about Nadia. And tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about who you are. And then we're gonna get into more details with that. But just tell us kind of give us a little intro.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm Mexican American, both sides, born and raised in Northern California, even though my mom is from Southern California and my dad is from Northern. Was raised up there. Big Latino family, lots of cooking, lots of cousins, lots of tias who you don't really know if they're really your tia. I had that moment over Christmas where I was like, wait, we're not actually related. So yeah, that was like I had a really idyllic like childhood, and my aunt owns a Mexican restaurant in Apple Valley, and so summers I would spend time and see my aunt and my uncle create this like amazing space, and I always felt so like proud that
Yeah.
they built something. My dad is a doctor. My mom was the first to graduate college in her family, which is my dad too, which was awesome. But she was at home with us and really showed us, what it was like to balance being a mom and being a wife and supporting my dad so that he could support us financially and stuff. So, growing up, I had like these really amazing women in my life who were balancing family and work and what that all looks like. So, I'm very like I'm a Leo, so I like a lot of attention. And I got into acting and singing, and
Wow.
so most of my childhood and young adult life was pursuing the arts. And then I had a family, and then I was like, like I still love creating and telling stories and doing all of that, but I really want to do something for my family and like build something to leave them, something that means a little bit more than what I was getting from the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was like, you know what? Like my aunt did it, and my mom, showed me that like I can like how to be a mom. My aunt showed me how to be a jefa, and I was like, I could do both. I mean, they both did both, but you know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do this. I can do this. So I mean, that was like a little bit about me. Like I just grew up with a lot seeing, everybody's an octopus. When you're a woman, you have to be an octopus. You have to have your hands doing the laundry, hands taking care of the kids, hands managing the finances, hands handling the husbands or the partners.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, I just like was like I'm a strong and I'm a capable woman, and I've always had this fire within me to like make something more, do something more, and to lead, to keep inspiring.
Yeah.
I want my daughter to look at me the way that I look at my aunt and I look at my mom and the other women in my life. So That's a little bit. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
I love that. Yes, no, I mean, you set the tone. This
Yeah.
is what it is. I think that, you're right. I think women that are listening right now to this interview can relate. And girl, I'm gonna give you snaps for everything you said around, you having that power and that control and that creativity to do more and wanting to do more. Sometimes it's scary for some people, to take a step, forward, maybe wanting to do something, or they feel like there's too many barriers. And so I think your
Yeah.
story is going to inspire, and your words are inspiring, and hopefully someone out there who needs to hear it is hearing it. And I'm sure there are. So thank you for that. Okay. Well, so we have Nadia, and then we have Plantate Café is born, right? And so
Mhm.
tell us a little bit. I love coffee. Okay. I'm not a coffee drinker, but el cafecito, I can have it 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. I will sleep like a baby.
Yep.
Love all kinds of lattes. Throw them all at me. I want to try them all, right? So,
But isn't that how we grew up? Like cafecito, like it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything. Cafe de
yeah.
olla on the stove. Like it was always coffee is always in the home. Always.
Yes, and it's a form of connection, right? Like you
And
have people
comfort.
over. What do you offer them first? Un cafecito, un
Yeah.
tecito, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's a way to bond and to kind of like build community with each other. So I love it. So I want to hear the origin of your story. Like how was Plantate born? And tell us a little bit about like where it is right now, like its current.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned my aunt owns a Mexican restaurant and seeing how they were able to provide for their family and like give them something to leave to them. And I was thinking like I don't with my husband's profession and what I'm doing, like we weren't doing enough to leave anything for our kids.
Mm,
The pandemic hit and mortality set in, like the idea of mortality, like, oh yeah, this life isn't going to be forever. We need to start planning for the future. What are we going to do? How are we going to help our children moving forward? Because what was true for our parents or their parents is not true for our generation because the world's changed.
mhm,
So we're like, what could we do to make money, but also to be the parents that we want to be? And I thought, I worked in coffee to put myself through college. Well, I had help from my parents, but to keep myself going in college, I worked in coffee. I worked a lot of other odd jobs. I learned how to manage a smoothie shop, which also sold coffee. And was sitting on these skills as a stay-at-home mom because I was committed to doing the first 5 years with my children, which I'm so lucky and privileged to be able to do. But that 5 years was about to end. And I was like, what am I going to do? And so all these things start swirling, and I go, okay, I had dinner every night with my family, and my family and I are very close. And I really attribute it to having these dinners and having these conversations. I want that for my family. So, how do I have that? What industry facilitates that? Coffee.
mm,
Coffee is open during school hours. I can, because my husband starts work late, he can take the kids to school. I can be at work. I can pick them up from school, and then we're both sitting at the dinner table and being with our family, and we're
mm,
both doing something to contribute to the food on that table.
mm,
So I was like, coffee. I have such a passion for flavor
mm,
and for connecting and sharing my culture. And I am a storyteller. And I feel like when people take a drink from my drinks, I
mm,
feel like they can feel the history behind it. Like
yeah,
it's so important to me. So I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to share my community. I want to educate people on our culture. And you can get that through your taste buds. And I can contribute to my family. And I can set an example for my children. Like all the stars aligned.
mm,
And I was like, I don't know how to start. My friend was like, why don't you reach out to local businesses and just see if you can do like pour overs or something in the garden just to start. I emailed another female-owned business who has a beautiful garden in Burbank called Tansy, and the owner, Shauna Christian, she was like, yeah, for sure, come." And I went there. Amazing community, built this community, and I was like, 2 years later, looking for brick and mortar spaces, LA is insane, couldn't do it. And she was like, Mija, why don't you just stay? Like, just stay here in the garden. We're mutually beneficial. We work for each other. Do a little trailer or whatever you need to do. Just stay. Like, you don't have to suffer. You could just accept the help that I'm offering you and trust that it's helping me too to give this to you. And I was like, of course, I'm going to stay. And with her help, with the help of my community, we built what we have now, which is a mobile coffee trailer that is not so mobile and it just stays in the garden.
That is so beautiful. I love seeing the pictures of just kind of the space that you're in because I feel like that adds to the vibe and the
A
energy,
hundred
right?
percent.
So you have the partner that supporting you, and then you have like your space is so colorful and inviting, and
Yeah.
I feel like it invites people in to like want to come in and kind of see what you're about.
Yeah,
And
it's so interesting because working in other coffee shops that are more like modern industrial
Mhm.
and in other parts of the city where you like walk through the door and you're just met with like black and white and metal,
Yeah.
energy is different. So
Oh, yeah.
I knew when I had like my business proposal, what I put in there was like lots of color, a lot of texture, a lot of warmth, because I feel like that's what's missing in modern coffee
Yeah.
is warmth, is comfort. I
Yeah.
think people think it's like a tool to like wake up and go to work. And I'm like, no, this is an opportunity to connect, to
Yeah.
be in community.
Right.
And whether that's being in community with other people or just like connecting to yourself and like having a moment to prepare you for the day versus like revving you up for the day just because it's caffeine.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted that. And I knew that even if I did have a brick and mortar, I would want an outdoor space to
Mhm.
bring nature
Mhm.
into people's lives and have a moment of more quiet. Um, and so, yeah, I feel like it was like a perfectly stars aligned kismet thing that they had this garden space available and it was already beautiful because they're a plant shop.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. I think that that's what people emotionally connect to is I'm sure when they step in, it's not just I'm sure the coffee tastes great, which I need to go out and taste your coffee. I've been
Yes,
wanting
please.
to, and so I'm going to
Yeah.
make it a commitment to go. But I think that that's like where we see that like coffee shops like yours or like what you're trying to build there and your purpose is so unique and different because you provide that space for people to feel like what the coffee brings aside from the wonderful taste is like you said
Yeah.
the community, the connection, the
Yeah.
moment of peace or whatever it might bring to people. So I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful that you have that and then that's part of like you're intentionally building that you
Yeah,
know
and honestly, like, every small business is kind of beholden to Yelp and Yelp reviews, so we're always, like, looking at our profile, but
Yeah.
it is the biggest compliment, like, of course, I want people to resonate with my coffee and love my coffee, but the thing that really lights me up and makes me feel good is when people just say, like, "The vibe here is amazing." It's
Mhm.
always a good time. Like, I can always go there and feel comfort. Nadia is such a gem. Nadia always makes me feel accepted and welcomed, and, like, that's the goal because there's great coffee all over this city,
Yeah.
but I want people when they come to the trailer to feel seen and
Mm.
accepted, and
Mm.
that's so when I see that in a Yelp review or in a Google review or when they just tell me, like, it's honestly, like, the best compliment because that's I feel like sometimes that's what's missing in this town is, like, real, true joy and connection.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, I have an idea brewing, but I'm gonna share it with you after
Okay.
offline. Sorry, everybody. Teasing it here. But I love that. I feel like what you do aligns with a lot of how we're building our community too, with our emprendedoras and just like
Mm.
what we're trying to elevate. And so I have an idea. I'll talk to you after about it.
Okay.
So, so I want to learn a little bit more about. You talked about kind of like your mom and your aunt, and kind of the influence that they had. And but how was Nadia when she was a little chiquilla,
Oh my
chillon,
god.
running around? Like because I what I see is that when I ask that question, I see a lot of how we were when we were 3-year-olds manifests itself into adults, right? And I think somebody once told me that it's like we're kind of just a bigger version of our 3-year-old self. And so I'm curious about like growing up, like what are those kind of characteristics you had and how do you see that that's like who like impacted who you are right now, your background, your culture, all of those experiences.
Yeah.
Like how were you growing up? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always been very, like, bold and very honest. So it's funny you said 3 years old because at 3 years old, I was, like, knocking on neighbors' doors being like, "Hi, I'm Nadia, and I see you have a kid here. Can I play with them?" And now I live here, and they're like, "Don't doesn't your mom want you to go home?" I'm like, "No, she's fine." Like, I've always been like that. My mom always tells a story that I was, like, the kid that, she wanted to walk me to the classroom, and I was like, "Bye, mom, I'm good." Um so I've always been, like, fiercely independent, and I've always been, for better or worse, someone who just, like, has their own path, like, my dad is a doctor, and my mom is a accountant numbers person, my sister's a nurse, and I'm an artist, like, how does this line up? But, yeah, like, my best friend, who I call my little sister, like, all the memories that she has is, like, she didn't wanna sing, and I was like, "I'll sing." But they'd be like, "Annie, why don't you sing a Christmas carol?" I'd be like, "Psh, my turn." So, I've had no problems putting myself out there and taking risks and also being very practical, like, I think I've always had a mind where I've been like, "Okay, this is what needs to get done, so I just get it done, and then it's done, and then I can move on," and I've always been like that ever since I was young, just, like, take care of my responsibilities so that I can play. So I've
Mm,
always had this really, like, pragmatic mind, but
mhm,
it served me well as an adult because I'm used to putting myself out there because I've always had this, it's
mm,
been easier for me to build community than I think somebody who's a little bit more introverted or a little bit more unsure of themselves.
yeah.
But I think that sometimes I can be so bold that people are like, "Whoa,
Mm, mhm,
what's going on here?"
mm,
So I've had to, like, learn a little bit, and also because I am very pragmatic,
mhm,
a lot of times people are like, "Nadia, take a day off. Nadia, stop working yourself so much. You're going to burn out." And I'm like, "But the numbers, and I have the time that's free, so I should be doing this and I should be doing that so that I can do this."
mm,
But living in LA and being a small business owner, there's always something to do. So if you don't actually schedule time for self-care or self-maintenance or for whatever you want to call it, you're gonna burn out. And I've always been like that since I was little, like a very hard worker, bold people pleaser,
mm,
always saying yes. No is not in my vocabulary, which is a terrible thing. And I'm trying to get better at that. But I think it's also ingrained in us, right, as Latinas to,
yeah.
like, always offer a hand even if we don't have one.
Mhm,
That's why we always have coffee, because we might not have food in the fridge, but we always have coffee. We always have something to give,
yeah.
and I think that that's always been reflected since I was young and has carried into my adulthood, and it's a beautiful thing, but it
Mm,
also can kind of be something that can take away from you if you're not careful.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think what's different is as you grow into that, right? You grow into self a little bit more, is that we tend to kind of have this increased awareness of where we need to also kind of either give ourselves some grace or try to like adapt differently to different situations, right? I feel like when we're kids, we're so carefree with who we are and we're such a free spirit. And as we grow into adulthood, we carry that with us, whether we want to or not. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we start to learn how to navigate this world that is like, is sometimes brutal, really. I mean, when we
Yeah.
look at it, right? It could be a brutal world and it could be a very beautiful one. It just depends on kind of where we find ourselves, I guess, and who we find ourselves with. But it sounds like at the core of like who you are, like you've carried that with you and those values and those qualities, which honestly is why you're successful, I'm sure. I mean, I think looking from the outside in, right? Seeing kind of, what you're sharing and how you're sharing it and seeing what I see. And through your business, it's these qualities have carried you into manifest all that beauty that you have into your business, and it makes your business unique, and it makes it what it is, right? Prior to like what we were talking about with the connection and having the energy. And so
Yeah.
it's fascinating to hear like how folks were when they were growing up, or how they think that their culture and their experiences influence them, because it shapes us all, really.
Mhm.
And to see the connection of like, how you're sharing your who you were as when you were little to like now, it's so beautiful and fascinating all at the same time, right? That you are, in a way, we are all still those 3-year-old versions of ourselves.
100%. Yeah, she doesn't go away. She still wants her spotlight.
And so, in terms of like the purpose of your business, so I know that you kind of talked about, the connection, the energy, and what would you say is kind of that greater vision or mission you have for your business? And sometimes it changes, right? It could have from when you first started to where you are now to where you want to go. But like walk us through that a little bit. Like what do you feel is your main mission, and where do you see it going kind of in the future?
Yeah, I think that like the impetus to start the business was like death, right? Like the reality of death and not being prepared to leave my children to be taken care of. And that's
Mm,
kind of what started the business. And then
mhm,
as the business grew and it turned into like from a dream into a more tangible dream, like a more of a like almost we're getting to reality. And then it started to be like, oh, like how the motivation for this business now is not just to take care of my children when I'm dead, but how do I use it to thrive while I'm alive?
mm,
Like this shouldn't just be for my children, but it should be for me too, and the life that I want to have and the things that I want to do. So the why kind of has changed a little bit, and I really am hoping that, with the changes that are coming up in the business, that I am able to educate more of a community and reach a bigger community, and I really, really want a brick and mortar, like, because it is hard. Anybody who's in the pop-up scene or in the mobile scene, it's hard on your body. It's
mm,
really hard on your body. It adds to your timeline. You have to wake up extra early, and then your home ends up being your place of work. And when
mm,
you have most houses don't have 2 kitchens, so
mhm,
you're cooking all your syrups and your cafe prep and everything in your kitchen while you're trying to make your kids dinner, and there's just not enough space.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to having a better work-life balance where I have a dedicated workspace, that
Mm,
it doesn't take away from my family at all, and it gives to my family. Because right now I'm in this like, I'm giving to my family, but I'm also taking away sometimes. And it that part breaks my heart and makes me question like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? And then I have to remember that this is temporary.
mhm,
The things that are in my head are not necessarily what my children or my husband are seeing, and I'm gonna get a brick and mortar. My I'm still gonna keep the trailer and have a bigger outreach, and ultimately, I will reach more people, spread more of my message, have more education, have a better return so that I can live my life in the way that I want to, which has that better work-life balance, being a mom and being a business owner. Like, I want that.
yeah. I love that. And I think that self-reflection is important. And hopefully those that are listening take that away from what you're saying as well, is that, when you said sometimes your why changes, I love that, because we hear
Yeah.
a lot about like our why is so important, right? Like we need to reflect on that. And I believe that. I do think that like your why matters, but we don't always talk about like the fact that sometimes our why changes, and that's okay.
It's so okay. I think we, like, really hold on to our why, and then we're, like, held hostage. Like,
Mm,
I actually have a really, good example for this because I was so holding on to la cultura, you know what I mean? I was like, "The culture, everything on the menu has to be the culture," and they were like, "Do you have chai?" And I'm like, "We don't have chai in Mexico? No." "Do you have
mm,
matcha?" "No, we don't this is not Mexican for me." to have matcha or chai on my menu. And then I met another coffee shop who does the scene, and they're like, "No, we have a chai, but we incorporate it into the horchata to make it work." And I was
Mm,
like, "What?" And
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I don't have to be so into a corner because I'm so so focused on educating people to the flavors of Mexico.
Mhm.
I can I can embrace the American, the LA side of me who is around all these diverse people who are wanting to taste the world and these fusions, and I can use my why of educating on Mexican flavors, and I can change that and make my why to being like why we are all connected and
Mhm.
why it works.
Mm,
Like flavors of Asia can work with flavors of Latin America. It can work because we share a lot
yeah.
and we complement each other or any other culture. So that
Yeah.
was something that I was like, okay, sometimes the why or sometimes the mission can hold you hostage. So always
Mm,
be open to being creative and listen to your community
mm,
because your customer is going to tell you what they want. And that doesn't mean be vanilla, just make your vanilla better. You know what I mean? Elevate it. Find a way to make it great. And that's okay.
yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh, so many golden nuggets in that, all of that. I love it. I think you're right. Your why can change, and sometimes your mission holds you hostage. I love that. Listen to your community. All those things, ladies, if you're listening out there, I know you are. Please, this is so important. These are things we don't normally talk about, So thank you for bringing those to light and just being vulnerable about sharing them. And so we come to this topic of vulnerability, and there's struggles, that as business owners, you face. And I know you shared a little bit about kind of the more internal personal struggles that you've had, even around your kind of balance with work and family and business. Um, is there anything that you can share, like another example with folks about something that, on the business side, maybe that has like really been a barrier for you, and how you're either working through it, or how did you work through it if it was something that kind of already had a resolve?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when the decision to stay at Tansy and do the trailer, we were
Mhm,
just trying to find like how can I do a permanent full-time thing that would
mm,
be the most cost effective and make the most sense, which ended up being a trailer.
mhm,
So mobile. So I started researching that and I found another Latino company, said they donated to charity, they help you with the paperwork. It sounded amazing, the price was right. I went for it, and because I was so excited,
mhm,
I maybe didn't do as much research as I should have, and it turned out to be a scam.
mm,
So I ended up with a trailer, which is my current trailer, that actually can't pass to work the way that I want it to
mm,
work in Los Angeles County, even though that was part of the contract. I
mm,
ended up spending double the amount of money that I thought that I was going to, and I still
mm,
am fighting with the health department, trying to get it past LA County so that I can operate as a mobile food facility and not just a temporary food facility, because those are
mm,
two separate requirements.
yeah,
And it's been so painful,
mm,
especially to know that it was another Latino-owned company who
mm,
did it, and they know what they're doing. Because I found out later that they've done it for so long, and they get away with it because they target micro businesses, because we
oh,
don't have the money to fight them.
oh,
So and we're too busy trying to recoup what we got scammed out of so that we're not out of business completely. So it was just that was the most painful part, was like, I chose y'all because you're my community, and you turned around and you stabbed me in the back.
mm,
So don't have blind faith just because they're one of us.
mm,
Sometimes people will take advantage of that trust or take advantage of that faith.
yeah,
So
yeah,
really do your homework, because it's gonna cost you so much money, and it almost put me out. I'm very fortunate that I have the family that I have, and I have
mhm,
a husband who provides income, that I was able to be able to do to make the things that needed to be changed.
mm,
Um, And I'm still working towards it and building community, talking to other trailer owners, asking them about their builders, their permitting process. What I've come to learn is LA just kind of makes it up as they go, depending on who they have, which is really frustrating. But there's something to be said about solidarity
Yeah.
and knowing that other people are going through it too. And every day I pull a different card for my trailer, like a little affirmations deck.
Mm,
And there's one in there that always comes up for me
mm,
that says, "Life never leaves you without options."
mm.
Always an option.
I
And
love it.
there's always an option because I've worked so hard to build community
Mhm,
and to put into my community so that I've been able to utilize them when I've needed them.
mhm,
So like will you get back what you put out, you know what I mean?
mhm,
So I mean, I could tell you like 10 other LA businesses. Café Diana, she's been a huge resource in starting and talking to her. Um, so really like community is going to carry you through and the punches are going to just keep coming.
yeah.
But if you can just take a breath and be a little bit patient, if something sounds too good to be true, probably is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think this is something that micro business owners, specifically entrepreneurs, face daily is seeing your vision and wanting to come to life, and yet having kind of like, where do you trust, right? Like, where do
Yeah.
you trust to say that, this community or that person or that organization has my best interest, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's sometimes it's almost forcing ourselves to be patient with the process, because we need to, wait a minute, let me research a little bit more, like you said, or let me
Yeah.
build trust with this relationship before I kind of take it to the next level, to like sign this or to take that next step or whatever it might be, right? But it's going to happen because we're humans and we
Yeah.
can't foresee everything that is going to go wrong in our lives, right?
But
And so
the financial pressure, like, okay, I'm getting awarded this opportunity from another business to stay in their garden and have this space. Like, it's an amazing opportunity. I have to hurry up and like do it so that I don't let them down and they know that I'm reliable and they're like good and they don't ask somebody else to fill the space. And so I was like, I'm gonna do this so fast and I'm gonna do it. And they're offering a 3-month timeline, like other places are like 6 months. And so I
mm,
was like, go, go, go
yeah,
for me, but also because of another business and like those I let outside pressures get to me
yeah,
and the pressure I was putting on myself
yeah.
that I ended up turning what could have been a 6-month timeline if I had gone with the people who were being more honest.
Mm.
Even though the other company that scammed me said 3 months, it actually turned into over a year.
Oh, wow.
So not everything is as they say, and you have to be careful because I was like, "Oh my god, I already put 8,000 in. That's all I have. I don't have any more money.
Yeah,
I have to." And then realizing like, "No, more money will come.
yeah.
Just don't rush it." So if you're
Mhm,
really getting down to like the last couple dollars in your account, still don't let that pressure
mm,
get to you because you don't want to end up going negative and
yeah,
then not being able to function at all.
yeah,
So if you're functioning with $2 to your name, it's better than getting yourself into a position where then you're negative
yeah,
and no business going forward.
right.
That's been like my biggest thing is just like research, talk. Like the amount of people who don't talk about how much money we put in, how
Mm,
much money we get costed because we made mistakes. Like, let's share these. That's why I love that you're doing these interviews because I don't want anybody else to be scammed by these people or other people like them.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I mean, your vulnerability is really gonna help women that are listening to this, that are in that space where they're questioning or they're in fear, or maybe they already made a bad decision and they feel like there's no way out, right? I think it's your vulnerability and sharing that story is going to help someone kind of keep fighting and know that there's other options and that there's a path forward. So I thank you for that. Those what I call golden nuggets, and that advice that you're giving, those that are listening. And so as we're kind of winding down our time and closing our time together, I just want to give you the opportunity to share any words of additional, what am I saying? Words of wisdom, additional words of wisdom. We've already shared so much in this time together, but words of wisdom that you want to share with women that are starting out or thinking about, starting a business. What would you have told to yourself, those years ago when you first started that you think would be helpful to share now?
I think the biggest thing is just to remember that, like, when you're a micro business, you are your business.
Mm,
Like, you are.
mhm,
People, of course, care about the product, but they mostly care about connecting with you. So put in that FaceTime with them, take the time to get to know them, invite them to be a part of the process. I mean, social media is one thing for sure, but also when I was fold out tables, I was like, I tried a new recipe. Like, try this. What do you think? Like, please give me feedback because I want to give you something that you like. And then remembering people's names and asking them or being honest, like, I've seen your face a million times, don't remember your name, and be okay with it because everybody does it. So what you feel is like your downsides or anything you're insecure about, so is everybody on the other side of the window or on the other side of the table or whatever your client is, they have those things too. So just let your mess out, just
mhm.
show your mess, and people are gonna love you even more for it. Like, really, and then they'll really, really root for you because they're invested in you and your success because they wanna believe that for themselves.
Yeah,
That's, like, my biggest thing is, like, don't worry about everything being perfect. It's gonna come. You are enough. Just put yourself out there, and you're gonna get it back and more.
I love that. Thank you so much for saying that and sharing that.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I think you like hit it spot on, and where a lot of women are kind of feeling the insecurity or the just again, I like there's more walls. Sometimes we feel like there's more walls than doors open for us, right? And
Yeah.
it's part of the journey, but it's not always fun. And I always tell folks it's like hills and valleys, right? And it's never any like specific, and everyone's journey is different.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
something that I say, like, in motherhood and in what I call heifahood,
yeah.
everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. So the good is temporary, so enjoy it. The bad is temporary, so just let it go. What will be,
Mm.
will be. Everything is temporary, so just be in the moment because it's gonna be fine. It's gonna work out.
I love that. Nadia, thank you so much. I don't want to like end our time together. I feel like we can keep going and rolling on the 2 hours. But
Yeah.
I know you want to I want to give you your time, you're respectful of your time and those that are listening. And so I just want to thank you again so much for taking this time, for giving us a little piece of you. And it's an honor getting to know you a little bit more. And really, it's humanizing the business. Like you said, it's like getting to know the person that runs the business, right? We see the business, we see, like you said, the social media, that's right. But like there's a human behind that. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as they say, that goes on behind the scenes. And so I thank you for your vulnerability and just giving your whole heart and soul to this time and sharing of yourself. And um, I would love to give you a chance to also do a plug-in for your business. So if you want to invite
Oh,
folks to come out, please do
sure.
so.
So my Instagram is at plantatecafe.la. I'm located in the garden at Tansy at Shop Tansy LA in Burbank off of Magnolia and Buena Vista. I'm open every day starting at 8 a.m. The ending times change, but you can find that online. But yeah, please come out and see me. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely going to see people coming to you. I'm one of those people. And so thank you again so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us out there, for listening to Nadia's story. We love you. We appreciate you. I just want to keep encouraging you. Siempre adelante. Keep going forward. Don't give up. And we're here for you. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank
Yo.
you.